You talk about this a lot, Chris, about corruption.
Yeah, which is a big element of this.
I was just going to say, and another part that this opens up, when it's one guy, Donald Trump,
Right.
who has become the tariff king of the world and has this magic scepter that just ping, ping, ping and decides tariffs. By the way, read the Constitution about that.
Not allowed.
Yeah, not allowed, but that's what's happening.
So a week ago, there was this story that a trucking company bought $20 million of Trump meme coin solely because they believed that was the way that they were going to get tariff relief.
Shortly after Donald Trump had typed in all caps, no exemptions. I know he meant it because he typed it in all caps.
So once the story is out that you can pay your way out of tariff relief, it just becomes normalized in the economy. So we still get screwed. So the corruption just is icky, and it's wrong, and it's illegal and unconstitutional. No president should enrich themselves off of tariffs or any other federal policy, but it also really doesn't do anything about the cost.
Republicans love to lie, and they do it a lot, which would make you think that they might be good at it, but that's just not the case. They're bad liars, constantly getting caught in their falsehoods and always getting upset when they are, and upset has been the current state of Stephen Miller, Donald Trump's possibly most evil advisor for the past couple of weeks. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. And of course, Donald Trump's administration is collapsing in on itself, but also the scandal surrounding his wife and Elon Musk. And for those reasons, he was especially upset when he was caught in a lie that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, it goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into the lie, Stephen Miller was caught, and we need some context on it. And that's around Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, which Chris Murphy started by calling out Senator Joni Ernst for in this clip right here.
I think everybody in that audience knows that they're going to die. They would just rather die in old age at 85 or 90 instead of dying at 40. And the reality is that when you lose your health care, you are much more at risk of early death. And when rural hospitals close because of this bill, when drug treatment clinics close in Iowa and rural America because of this bill, more people will die at a younger age. So the reality is this bill is about life and death. And for what? I mean, I guess that's the problem here for many of us, is that they're cutting Medicaid, throwing 15 million people off their health care in order to fund a tax cut for the super wealthy and for corporations. That is just fundamentally immoral. It's immoral and it's unethical. I don't understand why they're doing it, except that Donald Trump only really knows billionaires. He only knows corporate CEOs. And so his instructions to Republicans are reward them, help them, and no one else. I wish Joni and others saw the immorality of what they're doing.
I do want to.
So there are two main lies that are baked into Donald Trump's budget that Republicans do not want to address. The first is that people are going to lose their health care. These Medicaid cuts are not reforms. They're not changes. They're not betterments. They are cuts that not only just kick people off of their insurance, but make it more difficult for the people they claim they want working to access their health insurance. These aren't work requirements. These are work reporting requirements, which are specifically designed to make it more difficult for people to survive. That's what Republicans are doing. But the other big lie is about deficit spending, that they're not running up the deficit, which they absolutely are. And we saw a bit of that get called out by two Trump officials before we get into Stephen Miller, because it provides important context.
Speaker of the House estimates this is going to add $4 to $5 trillion over the next 10 years, and there's that debt limit increase.
Well, again, Margaret, that's CBO scoring.
That's the Speaker of the House.
No.
But he said it last Sunday on this program.
He said that's the CBO scoring.
He said that sounds right.
Let me tell you what's not included in there, what can't be scored. So we're taking in substantial tariff income right now. So there are estimates that could be another $2 trillion. That we are pushing through savings. So My estimate is that could be up to another 100 billion a year. So over the 10-year window, that could be $1 trillion. President has a prescription drug plan with the pharmaceutical companies that could substantially push down costs for prescription drugs, and that could be another $1 trillion. So there's the four.
Was pretty right when you adjusted for inflation. But let me read you something that you said back in 2021 about the CBO. This was in relation to a Democratic bill. You said the CBO has confirmed this bill adds nearly $400 billion to the deficit, contrary to the White House's claim that the bill is paid for. So do you only believe the CBO when a Democrat is president, Mr. Speaker?
No, this is very easy to explain. The CBO sometimes gets projections correct, but they're always off every single time when they project economic growth. They always underestimate the growth that will be brought about by tax cuts and reduction in regulations.
So the CBO referenced in both of those clips, of course, the Congressional Budget Office has reported what is true, that this spending from Donald Trump, as Republicans have said, the likes of Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, Lindsey Graham, not only doesn't cut spending, it doesn't. Elon Musk is outwardly saying that as well, but it's running it up. We are seeing more spending than ever before. But what Republicans are kind of trying to project out and promise is that down the road, then maybe we'll cut spending, but they're not. Again, Lindsey Graham has said that. That's just a farce. So it's why the post that Stephen Miller just made calling out the CBO was so ridiculous, especially because he got caught in the lie. Let's take a look. Stephen Miller took to Twitter to write this long lie. A lot of fiscal discussion around the big, beautiful bill seems to conflate whether willingly or not. The word spending versus the word deficit. There is no dispute that this bill cuts over $1.6 trillion in spending. It mainly accomplishes this to the largest welfare reform in history, otherwise known as cuts to Medicaid. But lefty bureaucrats at the CBO pretend the bill increases the deficit, though the extension of current tax rates is preventing a tax increase. CBO's bogus math has nothing to do with spending whatsoever. It's just an accounting trick to encourage tax hikes. One Democrats have used for years. You say Stephen Miller. Well, many responded with this tweet from his own account: the lying Marxist propaganda from the White House imperils democracy. Biden has exploded the deficit relative to CBO current law. Baseline. The most objective nonpartisan measure created a raging inflation nightmare and has unleashed 87 new IRS agents to audit the middle class. Now, of course, the end of that second tweet by Stephen Miller wasn't actually true. They weren't auditing middle-class people. They were going after wealthy tax cheats like Elon Musk. But the rest of the tweet was, the CBO is nonpartisan. This is an agency that is just putting out facts. Donald Trump doesn't like the facts. The people who said the facts don't care about your feelings, well, they seem to have their feelings. Oh, their poor little feelings hurt the most. Stephen Miller is a snowflake, and probably especially because he's been made fun of so much as of lately for his wife leaving him, for Elon Musk going to work, not with the White House where they initially met, but with Elon. And Stephen had some thoughts on that in a recent interview. Stephen Miller plays happy family after wife left with Musk. During an interview with Laura Trump on Fox, the interview turned to more personal matters with Miller, volunteering an incredibly neutral anecdote about how he met his wife. When I first met her during the Trump administration, she was the communications director at the Department of Homeland Security. So it's on brand, the relationship, because we were on conference calls all day on border security. So clearly, Stephen Miller's wife didn't love working with him all that much, apparently, as she's now out, and pretty quickly. And we can make all the jokes we want, and manga gets so upset at them. You know? They're going to say, oh, she didn't actually leave him. You know, you're blowing it out of purport. I don't care. Let's have a little fun with this mocking Stephen Miller. That seems like a great time to me. He's like one of the most abhorrent people I have ever seen. We always talk about how his suits don't fit, and it's my theory that the fabric is just like so disgusted by Stephen Miller as a person. Like it gains consciousness and is like trying to get itself off of him because like his suits don't fit. Which is not surprising the way Stephen Miller looks, that he's not put together, considering how evil he is. I don't really think he's focused on making sure he has a nice appearance, but like, yeah, I'm going to continue to make fun of Stephen Miller because of course we should, and also of course we should focus on the stuff that is most important right now. And that's calling out Donald Trump's budget. That's exactly what Tim Walz has been focused on in this takedown right here.
And we're not afraid. I'm not afraid to reach across and work with Republicans. But I'm also not afraid to stand up and say there's no way in hell that we are compromising on basic human rights and basic personal freedoms. So now, we're one of the friendliest states to start a business in. So Democrats, get this. You can stand up for working people. You can stand up for labor unions. You can stand up for fair wage. You can stand up for the idea that health care is a human right. But you can also be, because all of those things make businesses healthier, make the economy healthier, make businesses grow. We're the party of business. We're the party of the economy. We're the party that grows personal wealth. And I'll tell you what. We're also one of the freest states in the country where you make your decisions. We trust you. We're no damn nanny state that tells you what to read and who you sleep with and whatever else you do. Those are your decisions. Those are your decisions. And in the surveys that come out, there's two that I'm really proud of. We were recently ranked the best place to have a child in the country, from health care to the things that we have. And I'll tell you what, this one. We dropped to second in this category, and we got a little more work to do, but I think this matters. When they rate all the 50 states, Minnesota ranks second in happiness. We are the second happiest state. And it's cold as hell, too, and we're still happy. No such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. The reason I'll settle for second is Hawaii's first, so they're happy as heck. Look, I left a public school classroom at age 41 to run for public office. For that very simple reason all of you are here, to fight for working families just like my own. Now there's those that doubted us, but I'll tell you what. I ran in a district, by the way, I didn't know this, I'm glad I didn't know it. There had only been one other Democrat since 1892 in that congressional district. I know, and you know how it goes. You see this, oh, we can't put money in South Carolina, that's a red state. And I said last night, and I'll say it today, it doesn't look very red to me. It looks pretty blue. Looks pretty blue. Said we couldn't win because we didn't have any experience. You're going to watch candidates come up here and say, I don't know, but I'm running for office. And they'll tell you their name and they're going to do it. Support them. Help them out. What are we going to do? You ever see these races where we don't even run anybody? Look, we got them in Minnesota, trust me. We got these people who I don't know how they get elected, but I don't know South Carolina. This Nancy Mace thing is really something new. I'm saying it. But just think about it. In 500 days, we work hard, we get somebody up here. She's got to answer for the damage she's done to people. And then you won't see her on TV anymore again, and you'll see someone else. And to the teachers out here, I'm going to encourage you this. You have to listen to people tell you that, you know, oh, I don't know, you're overpaid, you only work 9 months out of the year. You know this, right? One of the reasons I ran for office, too, was I was sick and tired of people beating up on public servants, like our police, and like our firefighters, and like our teachers, and like our nurses. Look, none of us expected to get rich doing those jobs, but we didn't take a damn oath of poverty to do it. So you pay them. You pay them. And guess what happens when you do that? You get really good people who can afford to buy a house and raise their family, and they serve the rest of us. And the thing is for all of you out there, and I'm speaking to you public school teachers, this is one thing I learned when they told us we weren't going to do this. Just don't ever underestimate a public school teacher. They're pretty damn tough. They're a pretty damn tough group of folks. So look, it's a bit old school in this, and I'm doing some soul searching, and I was the guy who was there during this last one, but I'm convinced there's an appetite out there for this style of governing. This idea of competency, this idea of compassion, this idea of being able to get things done. When you poll people, they love our policies.
You know, we started this video and I did it very specifically with the clip of Senator Chris Murphy talking about Joni Ernst, who at her town hall, which I'm surprised she even had said that Medicaid cuts are fine because what everyone's going to die, that's your excuse. And we've seen this a lot from the Christian right, saying, well, you don't need insurance. God's your insurance. What meanwhile, these people are worth millions and millions. Joni Ernst is worth, I think 7.5, 7.3, somewhere in that range, $1 million. You think she doesn't have great insurance coverage? Do you think she's just leaving it up to the Lord if she gets sick or breaks her leg or is diagnosed with a treatable disease? You think she's just nah, I'm fine. We're going to be all good. Maybe I'll just die. It's going to happen anyway. No. She's a millionaire. This absolute BS. And why I think it's so important for us to uplift, this is because these are like the perfect examples of what Republicans are. These are people who are condescending. They talk down to you. It's not just that they don't care about you, but they despise you. Donald Trump despises his base. He thinks they're ugly. He thinks they're gross. He thinks they're stupid. He wants to grift off of them. Remember all that reporting around January 6th detailing how upset Donald Trump was with how his supporters looked. Not that they were breaking into the Capitol and trying to attack Mike Pence, but they weren't attractive enough for him. We discovered a report recently on this show that one of Donald Trump's top communications aides, he refused to put out in the spotlight because he thinks he's so unattractive, like Donald Trump detests his own people. J.D. Vance is constantly looking down and speaking down at people. This is not an issue of the left. People want to say that liberals are the ones who are condescending. It's not at all. It's Republicans. Joni Ursa is in a graveyard telling you to go die because she doesn't think you should have insurance because she wants herself and her billionaire buddies to get bigger tax cuts. Let's talk about that. Of course, we have to improve the brand of the Democratic Party. But let's set straight what the brand of the Republican Party is. It is condescending and it is incompetent. And we're going to be talking about that on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.